Hello friends. What I noticed yesterday is that when my mind gets tight or I feel anxious or fearful, I start to think in binaries, and it seems like everything is a choice of either or. And of course it's not like that at all. We exist as a complete whole, made more whole by our divergent parts. There's both and in every moment. And we see that, of course, with the body. We have so many different organs and muscle groups and bones, and they all work together harmoniously. We see this as well in an indigenous forest where there's just so many different species, and that creates the health of a forest. So what I thought we could look at today in this practice is bringing the yin into the yang and the yang into the yin. So we'll do a combination of these different styles of yoga. And what you may need just to support yourself is some extra blankets today. So of course have your nice soft blanket for our Shavasana, but it may also be useful to have two smaller cushions or blocks or blankets for supporting ourselves as we move into the practice. So let's begin, just by connecting with what's here in this moment. Around us and within us. And maybe asking yourself, what brought me to my mat? It's so useful to understand our intention for practice and what motivates us, the why behind the practice. So committing to that why, our reason for being here, for committing time for our own deepest well-being. So let's bring hands together at the heart. Reminding ourselves to bring deep conscious awareness to the body, the heart and the mind. Remembering it's for our own deepest well-being and can then be used to support all those with whom we share our life. And returning hands to the knees. And we'll gently explore balancing left and right side. So blocking off your right nostril, just use your more comfortable hand. If you're right-handed, it might be the thumb. If you're left-handed, it can be the ring finger. And we'll simply take 5 deep, slow breaths in through the left and out through the left. It can sometimes be helpful to count, perhaps to 3 or 4. So you're balancing the in-breath with the out-breath. And we're also balancing the left and the right sides of the body. So once you've completed 5 in through the left nostril, switching sides. Maintaining that same slow breathing rhythm. Noticing whether the breath eases as you continue. Or maybe there's differences between left and right nostril. And releasing the hand when you feel complete. And then noticing the flow through both nostrils. And if you like, you can also add the Ujjayi breath. That means slightly closing the back of the throat so that the breath sounds like the ocean. And this gentle sound can be a lovely way just to help us maintain awareness of the breath. At the same time, it helps us to slow down and to purify the breath, so that we're inviting very nourishing energy into the body. So our first yin pose will be butterfly pose. And this is where it might be useful just to have one cushion under the buttocks, just to lift the lower back a little. And then maybe a cushion under each knee. If the knees are lifted off the ground, they often feel a little bit vulnerable. So just, adjust your cushions or blocks so that they can be a support for the knees. And then gently lengthening up through the chest, through the heart, a little lift under the rib cage, and then moving forward until you feel your first sensation or achiness. We call this the first edge. And just stay there at the first edge. And if the edge eases, then we can ease. So this is a yin pose where we just get a sense of slowly stretching through the inner legs and, of course, along the back of the spine. And then use that gentle flowing Ujjayi breath to direct attention down to that maybe achy place, that place that feels stretchy. Just slowly draw the breath in, and as you breathe out, imagine the breath just soothing that area of ache or tension or contraction. What does sometimes happen is that as we bring awareness to a part in the body, it feels safer. It begins to trust our kind intention. And it may even release. You may find you can go a little bit deeper into your butterfly. We try not to hang the head. That can be a strain for the neck. So it may be comfortable to rest the chin in the hands. Or if your body starts to melt and you find you go a little bit lower, you can rest the head on a cushion or on the back of the hands. So really noticing with a precise attention, a yang mind if you like, where your edge is. If you feel you're pushing too deep, just back off a little bit. And then keeping attention there, we start to experience those shifts and changes in the body. Sometimes we tighten up if we've gone a bit far. Then we need to respond by easing back. On other occasions, if we're just navigating the edge with an attention, a kindliness, a skillfulness, then sometimes it softens. And we find we can soften a little deeper. So navigating the edge is our first aspect of a yin practice. And then, of course, to soften all the musculature. Because in yin, we're working with the joint sites, with the fascia, that cellophane sheath that covers the muscles, that moves through the whole of the body. So we want the muscles themselves to relax so that we can get into these less used parts of the body, or the places where we tend to bring less awareness. And because they're drier and tighter, they take a little more time. So that's why we tend to stay in a pose for about 3 minutes. Or if you're not using a timer, you can maybe count to 21 breaths. And then gently lifting out of the pose and using this opportunity just to press on the inner legs. These are where 3 of our main meridian lines run. The kidney, the spleen, and the liver. So just gently massaging along the inner legs. It can be a really lovely, comforting, and health-inviting practice. And then straightening out the legs, bringing your hands behind, and just resting back for a moment until any sensation in the spine has eased. So we'll balance today our yin with our yang. But of course it's not either or. When we're in the yin practice, we have a yang mind. We're attentive, precise. And when we're moving into our yang practice, we bring a yin mind, a softness, a receptivity. So now just crossing the legs, crossing over the ankles, we'll come into our second yin pose, which is Sphinx. So coming down onto the belly. And again, if you're doing this practice first thing in the morning, it can be really nice to just have something under the rib cage to act as support. So maybe a blanket, a cushion, and then bringing the elbows just in front of the shoulder line, and maybe the palms together. Some people like to do Sphinx with hands flat, but I like the sensation of the warmth of the hands. And then bringing the toes nice and wide on your mat. And once again, resting here, just feeling your edge. If there's no sensation in the lower back, bring the elbows back a little bit. Or if your lower back is very, very open, you can actually bring elbows on top of a cushion so that you're lifted a little bit higher. And just sense into that pressure in the lower back where the vertebrae are squeezing together, temporarily stopping the flow of energy, of qi. And so we direct our breath all the way down there. Maybe that ujjayi breath, which invites a slow, purified breath to move right down into the belly center, which nourishes the spine, particularly in the lower back. And then on the exhale, imagine the breath rising up and lifting the ribcage with it, so that the diaphragm has lots of space to move. Maybe listening for that gentle ocean sound of Ujjayi breath. letting the breath sink into the belly. And then rise up, lengthening the spine, lifting the heart, lifting the rib cage, creating internal space so that we experience that both and. The compression in the lower back and the expansion in the rib cage, in the chest, in the throat. Sometimes when one part of the body feels tight, the whole of us tightens. But we can take care of the tight parts while still staying soft and open in the places where there is no compression, where there's no injury. So taking 3 more breaths here. And the butterfly and sphinx poses are very important for our immune system and for releasing fear. So often when we are feeling afraid of the unknown or things that we can't control, the whole body contracts, the immune system becomes impaired. So these poses, part of the kidney nourishing sequence, just to help us be free from fear and find a sense of internal ease and well-being. And very gently releasing the elbows, just coming down for a moment, resting the cheek on the hands until any sensation in the lower back has melted away. Use your breath to really fill the belly, the lower back, the lower dantian. Very conscious of how the diaphragm, that great big circular muscle, pushes down into the abdomen, nourishing, massaging all those internal organs. And then when your lower back feels okay, gently ease back into child's pose. The knees can just be a little apart and the feet straight back behind you. And then reach the arms out in front. Nice and long, spread the fingers. Feel that counter pose to the Sphinx. The lower back now stretched and open, just as it was in butterfly. So 3 deep, nourishing breaths here. Really letting the mind be aware of everything that's happening within. There may also be activity around you. The mind can open to that too. We start to find this ability to take in everything without it overwhelming us. A sense of sitting quietly amidst the flow of life. So now we'll transition into some gentle yang, where we draw the heart forward on the in-breath and return back to child's pose on the out-breath. And we'll work in kind of movements of 3, just so the body has time to become familiar without the mind becoming bored. So 3rd time coming forward. And this time as we come forward, let the right leg lift. Just a little bit, inner thigh lifting, and then bringing the knee into the chest. 2 more times, inhale, lift. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, squeezing in. And then knees next to each other, back into child's pose. And then coming forward, this time left leg lifting. Exhale, squeeze the knee into the chest. Inhale, back. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, back. And exhale, squeeze. Returning to child's pose. So as you can feel now, we're starting to warm up the muscles in the body. That's the characteristic aspect of a Yang practice. So take a full in-breath. And then on your out-breath, slide your hands back to your knees. On the inhale, coming all the way up. Sun breath, arms lift. And then on the exhale, cactus arms and take the tailbone back so you can feel that same arch in the lower back that you had in the Sphinx. How does it feel now? Inhale, lift. And exhale. Arms come back to the sides, spine long and straight. 2 more, inhale, up. Right through to fingertips. And then exhale, squeezing the shoulder blades together in your cactus arms. And taking the tailbone out. Inhale, up. Exhale, release. So really bringing attention to our sacrolumbar area, a place that often gets tight if we're sitting. 3rd round, arms come up. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, lift. And release. Hands down to the sides. Buttocks to the heels. Sliding the fingers out in front. Child's pose. And then inhale forward. Tucking the toes. Downward facing dog. Knees nice and bent. And then pedaling out the feet, just as we always do, warming up the calves and the hamstrings, inviting the flow of blood to juice up these powerful muscles that support us throughout the rest of the day. And then once again, finding our rhythm. So inhaling forward into plank, exhaling back. Second time, inhale forward, activate the lower abdomen, hug the thigh muscles around the femur bones. Exhale back. Inhale forward, squeeze the forearms together, shoulder the shoulders can stay broad. And exhale back. And just as we did on the knees, the right leg comes up. Exhale forward into plank, knee into the chest. This is to wake up the abdominals. Inhale back. Right knee to right elbow. Inhale back. And then crossing the body once again, just as we did with the breathing practice, linking left and right. Inhale back. Downward facing dog. Let's take a moment there, maybe the legs a little straighter. But the intention is to have a long, spacious spine. So if the knees are bent, that's completely okay. And then the left leg floating skywards. Exhale, squeeze in as you come to your one-legged plank. Inhale back. Left knee to left elbow. Inhale back. And left knee to right elbow. Inhale back. And downward facing dog.
Just take a moment, as you did in the Sphinx, inhale all the way up into the belly. And then on the exhale, imagine the breath flowing down like a waterfall. Come into child's pose. And release. So when we're in child's pose, although it's a resting pose, it's a place to hone the quality of attention of the mind. Noticing the flow of breath, noticing little places of restriction in the body, and bringing that kind attention. This commitment to take care of our body. If your hands are back, reach them out in front once again. Inhale up onto hands and knees. And then let your right leg lift up behind you. Bring the knee into the chest. Really take a cat pose with the spine. Inhale back. Second time. Really lifting up into the back of the heart. Inhale back. And this time we will step that right foot forward between the hands. And if you have vulnerable knees, just make sure your knee is resting on a soft surface. So pushing down to come up. The first thing we'll do is really to activate our hip flexors. So letting the legs be right angles. And gently drawing the tailbone down, lifting just underneath the ribs, pulling the navel back. The hands can rest on the knee. And then let the arms float skywards, so that same internal pull, we're going to bring the arms forward and lift under the rib cage. Feel the stretch right through the front of that hip, the thigh. And then inhale, come up. The second time we're going to bring the left hand down next to the front foot and let your right hand lift into the sky. So we don't just lift, we ground and lift. It's both and. So push that grounded hand down and notice how it allows you to rise a little higher with those top fingertips. And then gently release. Coming back up, arms float wide. And then our second twist variation, we're going to bring the left hand to the outside of the right knee and take the right arm wide. And gently push the knee into the hand to give you a sense of steadiness. The gaze can be forward or it can turn back to look at that back hand. Just feel that twist through the spine and the activation in the shoulder. Reach the back fingertips behind you. And then gently release, arms up once more. So we've held this upright variation, but now we can melt a little bit. Just moving forward into that front knee by pulling that front foot back. And the back knee forward. Feel that activation right in the core, in the hips. Activate the buttocks a little bit. And open the heart. And then release. Down to the ground. Child's pose. Take a moment just to feel the results of our practice, the fruits. And then inhale forward. Same thing on the other side. So the left leg lifts up. And then squeeze it into the chest and really lift into the back, that angry cat shape in the spine. Second time, lift up and back. And then squeeze in. Third time. This time we squeeze in. And then lift the gaze and step the foot forward. And pushing down to come up. The hands can rest on that front knee. And really get a sense of pulling the tailbone down, stretching through the front of the right thigh now. Lifting just under the ribs. This is our Uddiyana Bandha, our middle lock. So pulling in and under, pulling the navel back. And then let the arms float skywards. Reach them forward and just feel your whole body in that C curve. Stretch right through that thigh, the hip. And then inhale, left. Arms come down. Find your steadiness by hugging towards an invisible midline and also pulling those front foot back, back knee forward. Inhale, up with the arms. And then gently reaching forward, the right hand coming down. And that grounds us. And we push into it to lift and open. So grounded and rising. It's not either or. The one supports the other. And release. Bringing the torso back upright. Letting the arms float wide. Feel your pelvis holding you steady. And then bringing the right hand across the left knee. Letting the knee press against the hand so that there's a sense of a boundary, a place to keep us safe. And then opening that back hand behind. Maybe gazing back, just finding your balance. Reaching. And release. Arms up last time. And just melting forward if that feels good. We want to strengthen before we stretch so that the body knows it can trust our intention. Maybe lifting and opening the heart. And release. Tucking the back toes and finding downward facing dog. Breathing in, then the outflow like a waterfall. And then walking up to the front of your mat. Inhale, swing the heart forward. Exhale, relax it back. Lift into the lower abdomen. The knees can bend a little, that's fine. Just feel the sits bones lifting. And then root down to rise. Again, that sense of the both and. We push into the earth to find the sky. And then the palms come down the midline. Recollecting your intention. What was your aspiration or desire for this practice, this day? Can we find balance through holding polarities? Bringing hands down next to the thighs, bending deep, fingertips sweep the earth. Once again, we'll take that cactus arm pose and stick the tailbone out behind us. Just feel that sacro-lumbar curve. Lift the heart, almost like you're leaning back on the shoulder blades. And then reaching the arms up into the sky, the legs can straighten too, and folding forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, stepping right leg and left leg back into downward facing dog. Deep breath here, Ujjayi if you like, if that helps you slow down, purify. And bring that attention to the breath. And then floating forward into plank. Nice and strong. Just hold there for a moment. Pushing the heels back, the crown of the head forward. And then gently lift the right leg off the earth. Just a little tiny bit. And down. And the left leg. And down. And both legs. Uh-oh. Come down to the earth. Rolling the shoulders back. Just gently let the heart lift on the breath. Exhale, release. This time let the hands lift too. The heart, the hands. Exhale down. And third time the hands can ground us. Maybe pushing a little bit to lift us just a touch higher. Feel how that sacro-lumbar curve feels. We've brought a lot of awareness there today. Exhale down. Tucking toes, lift through the thighs, lift through the belly. Push up and back. Downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. Head below the heart. Find that sense of rest in your downward dog, even if the pose feels strong. See if the mind can feel open, receptive, yin mind, yang body. Floating forward once again. And down. And then gazing to the left, bend your left elbow and rest your cheek on the hand. The right arm can come back beside you. So the first time we'll just lift the elbow and the head and the torso. Inhale up. Just hold for a moment. Exhale down. The second time we lift the left elbow and the right leg. So like a half shalabhasana. And down. And then lifting both legs. Coming up. Feel the muscles along the spine activating and strengthening. And then softening down. Switching sides. Left cheek resting on the right hand. Left hand back beside the thigh. Inhale the elbow, the face, the chest off the earth and hold. And release. Lifting the elbow and the left leg, finding that diagonal, connecting left and right, and down. And then pushing pubic bone into the earth, floating into the sky, and release. Both arms back beside you, maybe the chin or the forehead on the earth. And then reach the hands back, lift the heart, lift the feet, our full shalabhasana. Imagine squeezing a block between the palms, between the legs, and let it go. A front-facing shavasana, yet with a vivid mind. And then toes tuck, thighs engage. Hands come under the shoulders, abdomen engages, push down to come up. And downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. And letting your right leg float up behind you. Bring the knee into the chest, step it forward between the hands. And just take a moment in your lunge. Feel how the hips feel that stretch through the back thigh. And then gently walking the hands around to the left. And we're going to come sideways on the mat. So the outside of the foot parallel with the short edge of your mat. This is our Prasarita Padottanasana. So we're going to inhale, lift the heart, and then exhale, gently bow forward. So the hands and the feet in one straight line and equidistant. Maybe the elbows bend back a little bit. Get a sense of the inner spiral where we're taking the inner thighs back and the sits bones are opening just a little. Maybe the head hangs heavy, just stretching the spine for us. And then inhale, lift the heart and reach your right hand for your left leg or your left ankle. And gently draw into a little twist. And you may just feel the left buttock activating and maybe different sensations in the body. If you like to bring your left arm up into the sky, so you're in a little twist and maybe resting behind the sacrum. Just draw yourself nice and deep. Taking time to let these drier, stiffer parts of our body awaken and moisten. And then release. Coming back to center, inhale, lift the heart. This time slide the hands down the legs, maybe holding for the ankles. And then take the elbows out to the sides. Draw yourself down, just to where it feels good. Where there's enough sensation to keep the mind attentive, but nothing that hurts or makes us feel that we want to tighten or back away. Always allow the practice to invite you deeper by working with the minimum edge and just keeping the gaze towards the next edge. Lift the heart once again and now over to the other side. So your left hand reaches for right ankle, just gently drawing in this direction. Feel sensation through the hamstring, through the buttock, wherever your body is communicating with you. Maybe bringing that right arm up into the sky. Maybe wrapping it round the lower back. The thighs roll inwards so that the sits bones broaden. And then gently release. So if some of you have headstand in your practice, this is a nice opportunity just to find your way into a headstand. But that's simply an invitation. For the rest of us, we can come down into our Prasarita. And feel the inner thighs stretching as we go. And then gently lift the gaze. Heel toe, the feet a little bit in, with the toes pointing out and the heel slightly more in. And then gently push down to come up into our lovely, strong, horsey pose. So just bending the knees as much as feels comfortable. They're moving out towards the toes. Again, the sits bones or the tailbone is drawing under. Let the arms float skywards. And feel how, as the tailbone is grounding down, the fingertips reach. So again, it's not one or the other. It's a combination which allows the whole of the torso to stretch. And then bringing hands onto the thighs. And once again, let's just explore side to side. So just dropping one shoulder and then lifting, dropping the other shoulder. Just feel how the body responds. Couple more times. And then coming back upright, the fingers can interlace behind the back, pulling them down, squeezing shoulder blades together. Gently release, arms wide. Maybe melt a little deeper. Find your inner strength here. Strong spine, soft belly, receptive attitude. The legs may be wobbling like a sewing machine. Then straightening them up. Well done. And turning to the front of your mat, take a big moon step there. And inhale, arms lift. Palms down the midline. And just resting them at the heart. Samastiti. Tune into your breathing rhythm. Feel the feet connected with the earth. Imagine the crown of the head being drawn skywards. And energy flowing through the whole of the body. And then hands come down to the thighs. We're going to take one more modified Utkatasana, so bend deep into the knees. Fingertips sweep. Cactus arms stick out the tailbone. Feel that lower back momentarily compressing. And then reach the arms up and forward and pull the tailbone under. Feel the lower back lengthening. And then moving down into your squat. You may be up on the toes, you may be on the heels, just gently finding your way onto the earth. Taking some undulations just to lubricate anything in the spine where there may have been some compression, some tightness. And 3 variations of boat. Bringing your shin bones parallel with the earth, the hands behind the thighs, straightening up through the spine. Just hold there for a moment. So it's a strong pose, it requires the abdomen to awaken. But we can also be soft and open in the pose. Then release, a couple of undulations. Pelvic rocks. Lubricating the spine. Second variation, this time fingertips towards the toes. You can also flex the toes but keep the feet pointing forward, floating. Just holding there. Let the abdominals support you as the spine lengthens up. Just 2 more breaths. Notice the tendency to want to speed up the breath and release. undulations, freeing the body from anything that doesn't serve it. And then you can take the second variation or the first, or you can straighten up the legs and reach the arms forward. So we'll just count down for this one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Well done. Lifting the heart, scooping the tailbone under. And then just feel how the spine is in that C curve. And the next time you come down, keep that curve all the way down so that you lower one vertebrae and then the next. And then bringing right ankle onto the left knee. Bringing that left knee in towards you and holding behind the thigh if that's more comfortable, or behind the shin. So there's yang variations of this where we flex the feet, it's a strong pose, we're pulling in. But for now, let's do the yin. Let's soften the toes. Let's let time and gravity do the work. Our commitment here is to keep our attention with our practice. That yang mind that doesn't get carried away into automatic pilot, wandering down mental habit pathways. We see if we can keep inviting the mind back to the sensations in the body. And we bring to our mindfulness a sense of compassion, heartfulness. So wherever you notice sensation, imagine drawing a soothing, healing breath into that spot. And when the breath releases, just imagine it ramming down those pathways of sensation, smoothing, easing, freeing them up. So maybe your sensation is in the outer hip. Direct the in-breath right into that spot. And then imagine the out-breath flowing down the thigh, out through the knee. So that there's a sense of inner flow and increasing ease. And release. Just gently switching legs. You may need to hold the foot. Sometimes they get a little wobbly when we've been in a yin pose, working into the joints. The muscles have gone quite quiet and sleepy. So left ankle over right knee and then drawing in. This is called eye of the needle. Your hand is coming right through that triangle between the legs and then holding behind the thigh or the shin, whatever is comfortable for you. See if the spine can be long, even the back of the neck moving in the direction of the earth, the chin tucked in. And this is our Jalandhara Bandha, our throat lock, which also holds energy in the body. So once again, identify your place of sensation, direct the breath there, and then imagine the out-breath flowing out from that spot, kind of soothing, stroking, smoothing out any crinkles or discomfort. And seeing where you can soften. Maybe the forehead, or the jaw, or the shoulders, or the belly. Can the body be still and the mind still stay present? So often it's one or the other. Everything dozes off, the body and the mind. Or we're hypervigilant and the body is tight or active, ready to run. But here we're balancing out these incredible capacities of being able to relax and be awake, attentive in the same moment. And releasing, so that foot comes back down to earth, just gently lifting the leg off. Constructive pose, feet on the ground, and then once again, just very gentle undulations. And then rolling the chin into the chest, reaching the fingers forward, just seeing if you can use your body's internal strength to lift you back up. If there's vulnerability in the spine, just take care here. And then we'll come into dragonfly. So this is once again where you may like to have your little cushions under your knees. So taking the feet just as wide as your body allows, particularly if you're doing a morning practice, you don't want to overstretch. You may also want to have the buttocks onto a cushion from behind so that the lower back is protected. And just having the legs wide is often quite enough of a pose. You might notice the toes flopping inwards or flopping out, it just depends on the orientation of your hips. And then see where your edge is. Is it here, with the spine straight up? Maybe it moves a little. So we take the messages from the body rather than imposing our own wishes onto the body. In this pose, we can bring one more aspect of attention to our practice. As you breathe in, just gently lift the muscles around the perineum. It's like putting a plug in the bottom of our calabash so that water doesn't leak out. But what we're plugging here is energy, so that we're really filling the whole of the body with this vibrant sense of aliveness. So as you breathe in, you gently lift the muscles of the perineum. And as you breathe out, they can soften. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Just find that gentle pulsing sensation. You can also bring chin slightly into the chest just to hold the energy at the top. And imagine your torso like that calabash filled with nourishing water, drawn straight from the well. And gently coming out of the pose. And setting up for a brief Shavasana. Of course, if you have time, you're welcome to stay here as long as you like. But let's make it very conscious Shavasana, where the body is soft and open and the mind is still awake, attentive to the flow of life. And taking 3 more deep, conscious breaths. And gently moving the extremities of the body. And then drawing yourself into a little ball, hugging in. And rolling first to one side, just to let our transition from supine, from being to doing, a little bit more gentle, so that we can maintain those qualities. The soft receptivity of the yin with the activity, energy of the yang. And as you rest here in Sukhasana, getting a sense of your inner world. We've explored balancing left and right, yin and yang. That sense that nothing is ever one thing or the other. It's always both and then we even transcend that. Something that brings the whole together. So let's send out our dedication for friends and family who may be feeling unbalanced right now. Just wishing that they may be well and happy, that they may be free from difficulties, that they may find balance and ease. And let's offer on the sound of a single Om. So taking a deep in-breath and a sigh. Inhale. Imagine that vibration encircling and taking care of all those with whom we share our life. Namaste.